Mahayana is a major movement that arose within Indian Buddhism between 100 BC and 100 AD. By the 9th century, it was the dominant influence on the Buddhist cultures throughout Central and East Asia. This movement became known as Mahayana, which is Sanskrit for greater vehicle, because it teaches that all people universally can achieve nirvana regardless of status or station in life. This is in contrast to non-Mahayana sects, which maintain that the monastic life is the only way to achieve nirvana, thus allowing for only a select few to achieve this goal. Nonetheless, both traditions believe and accept the basic doctrines of Buddhism, which include the following: Shakyamuni Buddha as the teacher, the Four Noble Truths, and the Eightfold Path.
The Four Noble Truths. Ordinary life brings about suffering. The origin of suffering is attachment. The cessation of suffering is possible. There is an eightfold path to the cessation of suffering. The Eightfold Path: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration.
Mahayana allows for all people to achieve nirvana through the salvific power of Buddha, bodhisattvas, and the doctrine of skillful means. The universal accessibility of nirvana, together with the idea that the universe has no beginning in time and is filled with an infinite number of beings and an infinite number of worlds, leads to the conclusion that there are an infinite number of Buddhas, each dwelling in his own world realm. These cosmic Buddhas play a prominent role in the Mahayana Sutras. A prominent example is the Buddha Amitabha. He promised to create the world realm Pure Land, and to guarantee that ordinary beings could attain rebirth there merely by having faith in him. Thus, Mahayana becomes theistic and soteriological. Central to Mahayana theology is the idea of the bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is a being who has reached enlightenment, but vows to continue in samsara until all are enlightened. Anyone can aspire to achieve awakening and thereby become a bodhisattva. Bodhisattvas are thought to be unlimited in number, all-seeing and all-caring, capable of extending boundless aid and succor to those who call upon them in sincere faith. Accordingly, compassion for others becomes a key doctrine of Mahayana Buddhism. With the development of this complex cosmology, the Buddha Shakyamuni no longer is the only source of enlightenment, but rather there exist multiple sources or paths to enlightenment. Crucial to the Mahayana salvific vision is the doctrine of skillful or expedient means, which means that if there are multiple pathways to enlightenment, then one may take any path that is most expedient. The end goal is what is important, and not necessarily the means of getting there. This in turn entails a multiplicity of objects of veneration, ranging from other Buddhas to bodhisattvas, and eventually to symbolic representations. This devotion has generated a vibrant array of visual art, with sculptures and paintings often seen as themselves empowered to aid believers. Motivated by compassion and guided by wisdom and insight, Buddhas and bodhisattvas wish to lead ordinary beings to enlightenment. Their individually appropriate methods are beyond ordinary comprehension and may even seem deceptive, but they are justified by the superior insight of these saviors. This idea is best exemplified by the famous parable of the burning house found in the Lotus Sutra.
One day a fire broke out in the house of a wealthy man who had many children. The wealthy man shouted at his children inside the burning house to flee, but the children were absorbed in their games and did not heed his warning, though the house was being consumed by flames. Then the wealthy man devised a practical way to lure the children from the burning house. Knowing that the children were fond of interesting playthings, he called out to them, "Listen! Outside the gates are the carts that you have always wanted. Carts pulled by goats, carts pulled by deer, and carts pulled by oxen. Why don't you come out and play with them?" The wealthy man knew that these things would be irresistible to his children. The children, eager to play with these new toys, rushed out of the house, but instead of the carts that he had promised, the father gave them a cart much better than any he had described, a cart draped with precious stones and pulled by white bullocks, the important thing being that the children were saved from the dangers of the house on fire.
Given the doctrine of skillful means, it follows that there would evolve multiple schools of Mahayana Buddhism, each with their own teachers, doctrines, and rituals. Some important examples found in Chinese Buddhism include Pure Land, Tian Tai, Huayan, and Chan, pronounced Zen in Japanese. We will discuss these Chinese sects of Buddhism in depth later on. So in addition to being theistic, as discussed above, Mahayana Buddhism is also sectarian. The canon was also greatly expanded. As Mahayana emerged during the literate tradition, opposed to the previous oral tradition, these scriptures, known as sutra or tantra, are much longer and more artistic. The most popular and influential sutra throughout East Asia is the Lotus Sutra. Examples of common practices found in Buddhism include meditation, chanting, hand gestures, and bowing.
开始。